Hi everyone watching, I'm a quiz exchange student and this is my final project for Japanese popular culture. For my final project, I chose to talk about traditional representation of Japanese culture in anime. Why? Well, I'm such an anime lover and lately I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen and Kimetsu no Yaiba. And watching, I realized that they incorporate a whole lot of references to Japanese traditions and mythology, so I decided to do a bit of research on them. To help me with my research, I made a survey in which I asked Japanese and exchange students to answer some questions about the topic. I had a total of 13 responses, and even though it wasn't that much, I was able to collect a lot of important information that helped me so much in my project. Firstly, I asked them to choose between Jujutsu Kaisen and Kimetsu no Yaiba depending on which one they thought had more traditional elements on it, and not a single soul chose Jujutsu Kaisen. I also asked them to explain a bit why they thought that Kimetsu no Yaiba is better than Jujutsu Kaisen, and as you can see the responses is because it seems that the traditional elements that appear in Kimetsu no Yaiba are way more obvious than the ones that appear in Jujutsu Kaisen. Nevertheless, they seem to recognize traditional characteristics when they watch any of those anime, at least most of them, as we can see in this graphic. However, I understand the choice they made because it is kinda obvious how Demon Slayer just portrays traditional Japanese culture. It is set in the Taisho period, and most of the characters use a katana and traditional clothing. You can also see false masks everywhere, as well as other traditional objects and details. The whole scenery is very useful for everyone watching to understand the historical context of the Taisho period, showing differences between the rural and the cosmopolitan Japan that was changing because of Western influences. Also, some landscapes show some of the religious and folkloric Japan. For example, we have the wisteria forest that is supposed to keep the demons away. Fence and Light say that in some way the wisteria is tied to the Setsuko, which for those who don't know is the tradition of throwing beans to somebody dressed as a demon to keep them away from the home. This would be because the seeds of the wisteria, or its beans, are some that are used during this tradition. And when talking about Demon Slayer, we obviously can't forget the demons. A lot of them have been inspired and directly brought from Japanese folklore. One of the most important examples may be the spider family or Tsuchigumo, that the Tsuchigumo were once inspired by indigenous people in Japan that were hated by the society. So, in the legend, they are kind of human spiders that the army of the emperor has to kill. So, in my opinion, they still represent how some demons had no other choice than becoming evil, even if they were once kind humans. Also, it really shocked me how nobody chose Jujutsu Kaisen, because I think it still has a lot of elements that show Japanese folklore and traditional culture. For example, the whole concept of cursed energy is based in Shintoism. Cursed energy may be inspired by the concept of kegare. Kegare means that the bad emotions are not really bad, just you have to learn how to let them go and to be cleansed. The same happens with cursed energy in the anime. Is bad emotions that help you become more powerful and you just have to learn how to manage them.
基本的に術式は生まれながら体に刻まれているものだ。
Also, in this anime, we have to talk about the yokai that appear through the whole series. They resemble another yokai from Japanese mythology. Maybe the best example is Ryomen Sukuna, that is told to be by Nihon Shoki, a really old book. Sukuna is an evil being with human form, 2 faces and 4 arms, just as the anime Sukuna. Nevertheless, there is actually much discussion about if Sukuna was really somebody evil, because historically he seems to be just an emperor that was hated by the next dynasty, so they changed their names and their chronics after him, but the author maybe just took the myth, the evil story. So, after all of this research and analysis, some questions cross my mind. The first one being, does anime make foreigners become interested in Japanese popular culture? For me, it does. But I don't know how other people see it, so I asked these students, and most of them think like me. Also, I thought if the anime or manga creators use the traditional Japanese culture in their work because it's their culture, like they don't really realize about it, or if they do it on purpose, like they want to show their culture to foreigners and to other people that are outside Japan. I asked them, the students also, and the responses are kind of tied with each other, but most of them think that it's because they really want to show their culture to the outside world. Okay, so now let's jump to the conclusions. So, with all this research and all this analysis, we can see that both Kimetsu no Yaiba and Jujutsu Kaisen have traditional Japanese elements on it, as well as folklorical inspired characters. Nevertheless, we can see that students think that Kimetsu no Yaiba is better in this aspect because the signs are way more obvious than the ones in Jujutsu Kaisen. Also, we can conclude that anime and manga are something that keeps the interest of foreigners into Japan and Japanese traditional culture, as well as how the manga authors and anime makers, they are very conscious apparently that they are talking about their own culture to other people that are not really familiar with it, and that's why they want to show it to the outside world. So, this has been my final project for Japanese popular culture about Japanese traditional culture and folklore in anime. And thank you so much for watching, and if you liked it, please leave a like. See you in the next video.
Ikken
師範の指示に従っただけなので、お礼を言われる筋合いはないから。さようなら。